Today's video is very important, and if you enjoy this demonstration, feel free to join us by subscribing and liking the video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, and without wasting another second, grab yourself a pair of headphones and let's get started. So catching you up to speed, I recently posted a poll on my forums asking how far away from the wall my viewers have their speakers placed. So far, 1,400 votes are in, and leading by a wide margin is 1 to 3 feet with 57% of the total votes. Now, these results got me thinking, what would I hear and notice when placing speakers just a few feet from the wall, and how does that compare to when I pull them deeper into the room? It's a good question, but I can already feel the comments rolling in, so let me get this out of the way right now. I'm not trying to put anyone down, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad, and I completely understand that in many cases, you just can't go haywire and yank speakers 237 feet into the room. Not only do I totally understand, but the truth is, I've been there. There have been listening spaces where I had to keep speakers closer to the wall as well. So please, folks, hear me when I say this. I'm not here to hurt anyone's feelings or roll up on some kind of a high horse just because I have a fancy pants sound shed. If anything, this is simply a demonstration to highlight some of the differences that you might notice if you have the option to pull your speakers a few more feet away from the wall. These are the GR Research NX Bravos. While I could have used any speaker for this demonstration, I just happen to have these set up because Danny needed a favor of burning these in for Erin at Erin's Audio Corner. That's right. These are actually headed his way for a review, which is really cool. A lot of hard work went into properly recording some clips that will serve as a companion for this video. As for the recording techniques used in this demonstration, this will be a bit closer to what things actually sound like in this room compared to my typical sound clips. All the sound clips in this video were all recording using the same methods, and no favors were given to one setup over the other. So the song that we're going to be using in today's video is one of my favorites for soundstage and imaging. It's called Where There Is Smoke by the artist Dominique Fils-Aimé from the album Stay Tuned. I'll be embedding some of these short clips in the video as we go through this, but the truth is I'm going to get flagged for monetization on this video, so I won't be making money on this one, but it doesn't matter. This message is way too important not to share, and I really needed a great song like this to demonstrate everything that we're about to talk about. Either way, here's the plan. I'm also going to leave samples of these recordings down below straight from the recorder for you to hear for yourself. YouTube compression is indeed a thing, and while I do think that these differences are so obvious that it won't matter that much, I'm certain that a lot of you guys will appreciate having the official files for you to play back as well. I'm also going to leave links to this album down below, and please buy Dominique's music. She's incredible, and the production of her work is always top-notch. Okay, headphones on. This first clip is a recording of the NX Bravos 18 inches away from the front wall. For the sake of clarity, it's 18 inches from the wall to the back of the speaker, and for my metric viewers, that's roughly 46 centimeters. As for the listening position, I set up my chair in an equilateral triangle from the speakers, which seems to be the general go-to for a lot of audiophiles. So, as you can hear, this song kicks off with what sounds like a didgeridoo. I'm probably saying that wrong, it doesn't matter. This is a low droning wind instrument that produces a rich blend of complex overtones and harmonics. Knowing this is the complete sonic picture that we have to work with, let's shift gears and play the exact same clip with the same speakers 9 feet into the room, without any help from subwoofers to help with the bottom octave. And yes, that's 9 feet from the front wall to the back of the speaker, or 2.75 meters for our friends across the pond. So let me guess, you are immediately scratching your head and saying, where did all of that bass go? Well, folks, as we pull speakers deeper into the room, we sacrifice what is known as boundary reinforcement. As most of you guys already know, when it comes to low frequencies, like in this example, 50 to 60 hertz, is sound pressure and is also omnidirectional. So, just because the NX Bravos have woofers that are face forward, that doesn't mean all the bass from those woofers is moving forward as well. No. What's actually going on is that the low-end output is coupling to the wall behind it and is indeed giving us the output in the lower frequencies that we just heard. So let's back up to this clip and play it again, but this time let's bring some tension back into the mix using subwoofers. These are crossed around 50 hertz and are of course open baffle. They're about 5 feet into the room and added into the mix we just played. This is what we get. Okay, now we're cooking with fire. We have some really low end tension, and at the same time, it's not shaking our headphones off our heads like that first track with the speakers close to the wall. Just in case you forgot how that sounds, let's play that original clip back again and follow it up with this one we just heard. Now, I don't know about you, but when I listen to these clips back to back, the first clip seems to be all about bass. Sure, I can catch some of the details, the air moving through the pipe and some of the instrument's character, but overall, that clip sounds bass heavy, and that seems to be what's leading the charge. On the other hand, this second clip with the speakers deeper into the room tells a very different story. To me, the clip is no longer just about a low drone, it's also about revealing a lot of interesting details and character of this instrument. Not only that, but the air being blown through that pipe is much clearer and easier to pick out. And yes, of course, depending on your headphones, there's still some very low-end tension happening in this track, but it seems to be sitting below the surface, or another way to put it is, it's laying down a foundation for everything else to sit on. All right, folks, if you're hanging in there with me, things are about to get much more interesting. In this next clip, we're going to hear a percussive piece that actually travels through the soundstage. For this clip, we will hear how this sounds with the speakers close to the wall, and after the clip plays, let's chat about what we heard and move on from there. So, clearly we have Dominique starting to harmonize on the track, and over it we have this interesting block percussion that spans from our left to our right and then back to center stage. In this first clip, and it might be hard to localize this with headphones, but that percussion is essentially painted on this front wall, and as I listen to it, it sounds like it's actually embedded into the front wall, and her harmonies are also combined with it. Folks, this is really important to grasp as you listen to the next clip, because even though it's going to be hard to iron out Soundstage in headphones, I have a feeling that you're going to understand the differences as I communicate them. Okay, headphones on. As a refresher, we will play that same clip again, but follow it up with the speakers deep into the room with subwoofers. Here we go. I told you things are about to get more interesting, and here's the deal. I know at this point there will be some folks who might think that I'm playing some sneaky games in post-editing, but I'm not. I know that some of you will say there seems to be big differences in volumes, and clearly I'm just making one track louder than the other. And I totally understand why you might think that's what's going on, but the truth is, what's actually going on is so much more important to grasp. In that first clip, the low drone is doing something that is often described as smearing. So much of the bandwidth that we're trying to latch onto is being occupied by the coupling effect of that front wall. In contrast, as we pull the speakers deeper into the room, her harmonies in that percussion takes on a completely different shape. They are both isolated, pulled away from the wall, and now occupy a different space in the listening room. This, folks, for the record, might be the one area where Erin and I disagree about speaker placement. In a video that he recently posted about soundstage and imaging, it's a great video by the way, he mentioned that these types of attributes are baked into the recording, which I completely agree. He's totally right. But then went on to indicate that you don't need to do some crazy or oddball speaker positions to extract that information. Now, as you just heard in this recording, and I'll tell you, it's much more obvious in the room, while this staging and imaging information is indeed baked into the song, in order for us to hear its full potential, it is all about speaker placement. And the typical, few feet off the wall in an equilateral triangle, it's just not going to cut it. Last thing that I want to mention before we move on regarding volume and what we just heard as differences in these clips, if you pay close attention to Dominique's harmonies in headphones, it's going to sound like she's further panned left and right than it is on the very first clip. Rest assured, folks, nothing was done in post to any of these clips to pan any of this information. The reason she sounds that way in your headphones is because in this room, her harmony is suspended in the air a solid 3 to 4 feet away from that front wall. At the same time, this percussive block is just behind that harmony, and it sounds as if it is literally floating in the air as it moves from left to the right. All right, moving on, let's focus our attention to imaging and being specific, vocals. Headphones on, let's check out this clip with the NX Bravos against the wall and hear how it sounds.
Do you smell smoke?
Okay, listening carefully and focusing on a couple of key things. First and foremost, her vocals are the wall. But even more, and we're going to notice this on the second clip, I'm having a hard time clearly tracking her exact position. This, folks, is what is known as imaging in hi-fi, meaning whether it's a vocal or instrument in the song, Can we localize it and visually understand its clear location in the soundstage? Hearing this in the room and also in the recording, there are parts of her voice that almost sound veered off to the left a little bit, and others that shift more to the right. Here, let's play it again, and with that commentary, let's play the second clip with the speakers deep into the room to give us something to compare and contrast.
Do you smell smoke? Do you smell smoke?
Now, if you aren't blown away by that difference, then I got nothing. I don't know what to say. And what's fascinating to me is that in that second clip, we can not only clearly hear her precise location, but we also hear her harmonies to the left and right of her center image. All right, folks, now on to one of my favorite parts of this song, the hand claps. Man, the first time I heard this with speakers out on the dance floor, it blew my mind. Will they have the same effect with these little NX Bravos against the wall? Headphones on? Let's find out.
Can you tell I've been trying? Can you?
All right, first things first, feel free to raise your hand if you are just about done with this constant, heavy drone that will not go away. And yes, folks, that's exactly why I'm not even bothering with a subwoofer in this mix. Just imagine subs in the corners or up against the wall playing with these speakers. Even the biggest bass junkies out there would probably send me a colorfully worded letter if I threw that mess into this mix. But on to the main event. How about those hand claps? Did they sound like they were pulled out into the stage, convincing you that people are actually clapping their hands just in front and to the sides of Dominique's main vocal? What about the congas and bongos playing along the hand claps? Did you even notice them? Or like me, did you find the entire sonic picture to sound, I don't know, a little bit flat and two-dimensional? No? Okay, well, let's take this next clip for a spin with the speakers back out on the dance floor. As a refresher, I'll play the clip that we just heard first so it's easier to pick out the differences. Here we go.
Can you tell I've been trying? Can you tell I've been trying? Can you?
So just as we heard in those harmonies, the hand claps are completely isolated now. It's as if we just pulled them off of that front wall and now they occupy their own space, away from her main vocal, away from her harmonies, and most important, light up the stage with decay structure. Or in other words, we can not only hear the clap, but we can also hear what's happening after the clap, which again, going back to Erin's point about being baked into the recording, is fully appreciated in this second clip with the speakers much deeper into the room. And again, folks, as good as these clips are, they still aren't showcasing the actual placement in the stage. And for that, you will just need to rely on my commentary in this video. My point being, in this section of the song, we have a lot of imaging going on, and no, it's not a part of the wall. It's set free in the room where it belonged the entire time. All right, folks, for this next clip, let's just kind of relax and have a little bit of fun and let these open baffle subs show up and lay down some serious deep bass. Of course, with the speakers against the wall, we don't have any subs that we're using in the clips, but you might be surprised at just how much bass is being conveyed with the help of that front wall. First, I'm going to play these Bravos close to the wall and then follow up with them deeper into the room with the subs. Headphones on, let's party.
Do you smell smoke? Do you smell smoke?
You know, even though we are getting some deep bass out of these subs, what impressed me even more is just how clean everything else sounds compared to that first clip. Sure, even without the subs, that first clip does pack a punch, but to me, with the exaggerated drone that won't go away, that hit that we just heard from the drum doesn't have the same impact as we heard with the speakers deeper into the room. Now, for this last clip, let's have some fun, and why not? Do a little speaker shootout. Now, you have already heard these NX Bravos are pretty impressive. With a low crossover point of only 1,000 and planar magnetic tweeter, they offer incredible precision, excel at imaging, and are packed full of resolution as we've heard throughout all of these clips. But how do they compare to my trusty Encores, and why not? What about these NRD speakers that I've been teasing about for the last few months? Glad you asked. Let's try those hand claps again.
Can you tell I've been trying? Can you tell I've been trying? Can you tell I've been trying?
So, if you had a hard time telling these apart at all, I want to offer some help because there's a pretty big difference in all these clips. Part of critical listening is being able to focus your attention on one thing, and in this track, it's of course the hand claps. Now, if you couldn't tell the speakers apart, go back and play them again, but this time, trust me, it's going to feel weird, but close your eyes and really focus all of your attention on just the sound of the claps. Listen for the initial attack of the clap, but then listen to what happens after the clap. That's the key. What you should start to hear is what we call decay structure. As the clap happens, there is indeed information in time that is audible after the clap, and in this clip, it's the reverb and the decay of the room we are hearing. And to be clear, it's not my room, but it's the room reverb of the recording. My room is merely allowing you to hear that level of detail, and by all means, it's enhancing it, but in a good way. So folks, there we have it. Hopefully this video does indeed demonstrate that pulling speakers deeper into the room is a big deal. In the event where you have speakers close to the wall and you do have the option to yank them out, I do have a step-by-step guide that will help you dial everything in, and that guide is called LOTS, also known in these parts as Loudspeaker Optimization Techniques for Soundstage. A lot of hard work went into that video, and if you don't think that method works, I really would encourage you to just simply read the comments. I again hope this video doesn't upset anyone or make you feel like soundstage and imaging is a waste of time given your listening room and make you feel like I'm talking down to you. The exact opposite is true, and if you can't experience what this all sounds like in your environment, this is an open invitation to come and experience it here in the Soundshed yourself. I'm located in Iowa Park, Texas, and there are plenty of hotels around here that you could stay at, hang out with me, eat some barbecue, and enjoy an open and realistic soundstage like you have never heard before. I'll also be curious to hear your takeaway after watching this video. One question that's been on my mind is this. As most of you know, I have been very open to the idea that everything inside a speaker, along with everything we use to connect that speaker, can indeed make a difference. I know the topic of crossover components can lead to audiophile fistfights, and don't even get me started on cables, but given these examples, here's a question worth asking. If any of these things do indeed make a difference, which of these two speaker positions would make it easier to hear those differences? I know where I stand on this, but I'm curious to hear what you think, so feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section down below. All right, folks, these NX Bravos are headed to Erin's next. Hopefully he can get these babies out on the dance floor and hear some of the things that you just heard in this video. And with that, I will see you Soundstage loving audiophiles in the next video.